The Tennessee Titans have fired Mike Vrabel, and it was the right move. I'll explain why on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to an emergency edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Tennessee Titans have fired Mike Vrabel. I'm going to break down why it was the right move, the top coaching candidates for the Titans, and the worst coaching candidates for the Titans. Before we get into it, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's JASEmedical.com. My God! Tennessee Titans fans, it actually happened. Whoa, Mike Vrabel fired after 6 seasons with the Tennessee Titans. Again, I think this is the right move. Now, it's not a perfect outcome. It's not a perfect situation. But again, this is what the Tennessee Titans needed to do. So let's break it down. First and foremost, as I've said all year and as I will continue to say, Mike Vrabel is a good football coach, and anybody saying anything other than him being a good football coach is simply lying. But that does not mean that Mike Vrabel is the right football coach for the Tennessee Titans right now, with a young group, a young quarterback, young players who need to get even younger, continue adding players in the draft. Mike Vrabel is a guy who needs to take over a ready-made roster that's ready to compete like he did with the Tennessee Titans. Everyone seems to forget he inherited a playoff-winning roster. All right? Mike Vrabel needs a ready-made roster that's ready to compete for a Super Bowl right away. That's where he is best. He is not somebody who is going to build up a young team into a contender. That is not who Mike Vrabel is. I'm sorry. We have seen that over and over. Okay, and look, I know the number one thing that people are going to say is, they should have traded him, Tyler. They should have traded him, Tyler. Well, as I explained on yesterday's show, that would have been incredibly complex, and it would have risked the Titans missing out on all the other candidates. So you get a trade for Mike Vrabel, and you get some assets, but then you've missed out on the top 6 coaches that were available. So what is more important? Getting the draft capital and having a bad head coaching candidate, or getting the right head coaching candidate for all of the assets that you do have? It is so simple. Yes, I would have loved to trade Mike Vrabel. But at the end of the day, if he did not want to be here, he did not want to play nice, he did not want to collaborate with other people in the organization who have done a good job so far, then see ya. Goodbye. Send him to the moon. I don't care. Again, yes, they could have looked for a trade, but because of the Rooney Rule, because of the hiring rules in the NFL, doing that would have been a very risky move, and they could have easily missed out on all of the good head coaching candidates that are available. So you trade Mike Vrabel, and then what do you have? The bottom round, the bottom tier of head coaching candidates because you held on to him for 2 weeks to try to force a trade to somebody. Look, again, it's not ideal. It's not perfect, but this is what the Tennessee Titans needed to do. If you're somebody who wants to back Mike Vrabel got the number 1 seed in the AFC in 2021. Mike Vrabel went to the AFC Championship game in 2019. All right, that's fair. Again, he is a good football coach. But how can you be blindly loyal to Mike Vrabel after 2 back-to-back double-digit losing seasons? How many coaches survive back-to-back double-digit losing seasons? Not only that, but look at all the bad hires that Mike Vrabel has made. He kept with Todd Downing for 2 seasons. He had Craig Aukerman his entire tenure. After Arthur Smith left and after Dean Pease left, this team has not had a good coordinator on either side of the ball, including special teams. So back-to-back double-digit losing seasons, 1-9 in the division over the last 2 years. 1-9. And remember, they were 7-3. So if you look at the games after that, this team has been awful, okay? They have been awful, along with the bad hires. Also, what is up with valuing special teams so much that we can't have good wide receivers on this team? Why is Mike Vrabel more concerned about having a good special teams unit than having a good offense when the special teams unit was terrible the whole time anyways? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Look, the NFL is modernizing, and I got to give credit to Marcus Mosher from Locked On Cowboys, who tweeted, Mike Vrabel has had an offense ranked 27 or lower in 3 out of his 6 seasons. This is an offensive league. The NFL is about offense, okay? That's what it's about, offense. And Mike Vrabel has had a pitiful offense for half of his time with the Tennessee Titans. Moving forward, the part of having that pitiful offense is because of his archaic approach to offense. He thinks that if you establish the run and you can't pass unless it's play action, and we need to make sure that it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You know how many times I've seen Mike Vrabel say, we need to get in third and manageable? We need to get in third and manageable. You do know that you can get a first down on second down, right? You do know that, right? Okay, so 2 back-to-back losing seasons, double-digit losses, terrible staffing hires, an old-school approach to offense that has led to 27th ranked offense half of the time that he's been here. Not only that, but he has tried a hostile power play of the organization in back-to-back seasons. He took a hostile power play over John Robinson last year. Fine, that's great. Now he's trying to have a hostile power play over Rand Carthon. Like, how long are you going to bow down to this guy who's had back-to-back double-digit losing seasons and half of the time has had one of the worst offenses in the NFL? Think about what you all are saying. Think about the guy you want to be loyal to here. Mike Vrabel isn't Bill Belichick. Mike Vrabel isn't Mike Tomlin. Mike Vrabel isn't John Harbaugh. Get the heck out of here. He's an egomaniac with an archaic approach to football who has had back-to-back double-digit losses. Like, we aren't talking about God's gift to football coaches here. He is a good coach, but we all got to calm down on propping him up. Like, it's absurd. It's simply absurd. So, not only that, you look at all of the problems with Mike Vrabel, but look around the NFL, everybody. Look around the NFL. What wins in the NFL? Offensive coaches. Five of the last 6 Super Bowls. 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. Offensive coaches. Look around at the best teams in the NFL. Yeah, you have John Harbaugh. Yeah, you have Sean McDermott in Buffalo. But look around. The teams that win the Super Bowl have offensive coaches more often than not in recent NFL history. And here's the other part of that. What happens if Mike Vrabel hires a great offensive coordinator? You guys tell me down below. You guys, what happens when Mike Vrabel hires a good offensive coordinator? What? They're good for 2 years, and then where do they go? They go to be head coaches. The only way that you can create a sustainable situation for Will Levis is with an offensive coach, because any good offensive coordinator will become a head coach eventually. So if you're somebody who wanted Mike Vrabel to stay around, then that means that he would have to cycle through offensive coordinators for the rest of his career. Because if they're any good, they're going to leave. And if they're not any good, then they're bad. So offensive coaches, offensive head coaches are what makes sustainable playoff success in this league. Okay? So again, Mike Vrabel, back-to-back losing seasons. Mike Vrabel, terrible coordinator hires. Mike Vrabel not valuing skill positions on offense. Mike Vrabel, old school approach to offense that's led to 27th or worse in half of his seasons. Mike Vrabel, back-to-back years of a hostile power play within the organization. All of that, plus the offensive trends in the NFL, this was absolutely the right move. And again, I would have loved to trade Mike Vrabel, but you risk losing out on all of the best head coaching candidates if you hold on, because you got to satisfy the Rooney Rule. You can't even in-person interview anybody until the divisional round. The Titans would have been in a very, very risky situation if they would have tried to trade Mike Vrabel and hold on for 2 more weeks and not have the opportunity to interview all of the best head coaching candidates that are going to get interviews in the next few weeks. So this was absolutely the right move for the Tennessee Titans. Absolutely. And now, who are they going to hire next? Who will be the next head coach for the Tennessee Titans? I'm going to go over my top candidates. I'm going to go over the candidates that I do not want. We're going to get into that right now. Before we do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. All right, here's the reality. We know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life. But can we talk about that for just a minute? Preparing for real life. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than my fiance, my nephew, my mom, my dad, my sister, getting sick while a supply chain issue is going to keep them from life-saving medication that they need. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is packed with 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among other things. This stuff could happen to any of us. Make sure that you visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medication will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to Jase Medical and use the code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the most fun and the most easy way to play daily fantasy sports. It's this easy. PrizePicks has a projection for every player. Derrick Henry, 50 rushing yards. Pat Mahomes, 200 passing yards. Ryan Tannehill, 1 interception. All you do is you pick 2 to 6 players, and you say whether that player is going to do more or less than the PrizePicks projections. If you hit, you can win up to 25 times your money. You don't have to go against a bunch of sharks, 1,000 different lineups from a bot. It's just you against the PrizePicks projections. Make sure that you go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy. Titans fans, let's continue today's emergency edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Mike Vrabel was fired, and it was the right move for the Tennessee Titans. We're going to talk about the top head coaching candidates for the team, the worst head coaching candidates for the team. Let me know down below who your top candidate is and whether you think this was the right or wrong move for the Tennessee Titans. Throw a thumbs up on the video. There are 500 people watching live right now. The show is always free. Throw a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Remember, Locked On Titans is Monday through Friday. Daily content on your team every day, every app, all year long, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. Again, it's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. I just explained why, I am excited, passionate. I love this football team, all right? I just explained why this was the right move for the Titans. Double-digit losing seasons for Mike Vrabel, bad staff hires, an old-school archaic approach to offense, hostile power plays within the organization, throwing fits, trying to get his way, for a guy who, again, double-digit back-to-back losing seasons, 1-9 against the division in his last 10 games. I'm sorry, but this ain't Bill Belichick. This ain't Mike Tomlin. This ain't John Harbaugh. Get out of here, okay? And again, every guy saying the Titans should have traded him. The Titans should have traded him. If the Titans would have traded Mike Vrabel, they would have had to wait weeks on weeks for that process to happen, and then they risk losing out on the best head coaching candidates that are available. So it's a risk either way you want to look at it. Either way. But we're going to get in some of my favorite head coaching candidates. Before we do, I just wanted to point out Diana Rossini just tweeted the Titans believe trading Vrabel was too complicated. It would take too long. They wanted to move on quickly. There you go. I told you guys that yesterday. I explained the complexity of the situation yesterday. So give me a break. I also want to say this. Not me saying it, but this is a comment from Amy Adams Strunk. And if you're a Tennessee Titans fan and these comments from Amy Adams Strunk, the controlling owner, don't fire you up, your pulse is gone. She said, quote, "I will never shy away from acknowledging that I have unapologetically high expectations for this football team and every aspect of the Titans organization. Our vision is not simply to produce more wins than losses. It is to regularly compete for championships. While this season was disappointing, I see early signs of progress taking shape. Last year, we added a promising young quarterback and several talented players to our roster. With a coaching search, enviable cap space, a top 10 draft pick, this offseason is as important as any in our history." I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. I'm excited for the weeks and months ahead. We will meet the moment. I mean, if that statement from Amy Adams Strunk does not fire you up about the Tennessee Titans, I don't know what to tell you. You get rid of a coach with back-to-back double-digit losing seasons, and you have your owner saying, winning ain't good enough. We want to compete for Super Bowls. All right? And like I told you, it is about a modern approach to offense. It is about the modern approach to the NFL. Look what Amy Adams Strunk says right here. Quote, "As the NFL continues to innovate and evolve, I believe the teams best positioned for sustainable success will be those who empower and align in a collaborative team across all football functions." Mike Vrabel did not want to collaborate. He wanted to hire someone over Rand Carthon so that they can go over top of his head and Mike can get his way. I added that little part in, of course, back to Amy's statement. Last year, we began a shift in our approach to football leadership. I made several changes to our personnel to advance that plan. As I continue to assess the state of our team, I arrived at the conclusion that the team would also benefit from the fresh approach and perspective of a new coaching staff. Literally everything I have been saying about Mike Vrabel and why the Titans need to move on is exactly what the owner of the team is saying. Period. It is time to grow up. It is time to modernize. It is time to enter the NFL modern space. No more, "I'm the analytics department" from the general manager. No more, "we need to establish the run and we can't play action without running the ball." No, it's over. We're done with that. The Titans are done being a mom and pop shop trying to compete with corporate America. The Titans are done being Main Street. They're going to be Wall Street now. Nashville in the last 6 years has grown exponentially from one of the small media markets to one of the biggest, most exciting markets in America. The Tennessee Titans' growth as an organization needs to mirror that. It is time to grow up. We are not the podunk, lunch pail, blue-collar Tennessee Titans anymore. We are the modern thinking, analytics included, forward-thinking, explosive team that we need to be. Amy Adams Strunk has the vision, y'all. So you can cry and complain about a coach who has lost double-digit games in back-to-back seasons and tell me that he is God's gift to coaching, but I do not buy it. I do not buy it. Okay? Let Rand Carthon cook. Let Rand Carthon get his head coach, an offensive head coach. And who should that coach be? Again, we're going to go over my top candidates available and my worst candidates available. Before we get into it, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Look, guys, it's a new year, and I know at that time of year, a lot of you guys say new year, new you, and around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we are already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space. You want to tackle another. Maybe you're taking supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Look, it's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. I've done therapy with BetterHelp. You don't need to worry about the stigmas and all that stuff. Do what is best for you. And all you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. It's so important to find the right therapist, and it's so easy to do that on BetterHelp. Celebrate the progress you've already made and set yourself up to make more. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon and get 10% off your first month today. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Titans fans, it is an emergency edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Mike Vrabel has been fired. It is the right move for the Tennessee Titans. Now, we need to talk about who is going to be the head coach next. We need to talk about who are the worst candidates who I don't want for head coach for the Tennessee Titans. Before we get into it, thank you guys. There are 750 people in the show live right now. Thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. I'm going to have a ton of off-season content, head coaching stuff, free agency, the draft, cap mechanisms, roster building. We got so much to talk about this all season, and every single day it's going to be free for you. So stay with me here. Get subscribed. Stay subscribed. It's your team every day. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Nearly 25 years as a Tennessee Titans fanatic, written for Sports Illustrated for the Tennessee Titans, written for USA Today for the Tennessee Titans. I'm your guy. All right. I am your guy. So appreciate all you guys in here. Throw a thumbs up on the video. But who should be the next head coach for the Tennessee Titans? My number one candidate is Bobby Slowik, offensive coordinator from the Houston Texans. Bobby Slowik grew up in an NFL family. His dad was the defensive coordinator of 4 different NFL teams, including the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Bobby Slowik has been a quality control coach on defense and offense. Bobby Slowik came from that historic 2013 Washington coaching staff. Bobby Slowik is the offensive coordinator of the Texans right now, who just made C.J. Stroud look like the best rookie quarterback in NFL history. If you can get an offensive head coach, steal that coach away from your division rival, look, Mike Vrabel fell apart once he lost his good coordinators. So steal the good offensive coordinator from the Houston Texans after one season. You steal the offensive coordinator away from C.J. Stroud and your division rival. You add that to your team with Will Levis, and you let somebody who Ran Carthon knows very well from their time together in San Francisco. San Francisco connection, NFL pedigree, both sides of the ball knowledge, offensive assistant, guy who you're stealing from your division rival. It is literally an ideal hire to get Bobby Slowik. Ideal hire for Bobby Slowik. Now, if the Titans can't get Bobby Slowik, or Bobby Slowik doesn't want to leave yet, all that, well, then the number one guy they need to look at next is Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions. He was one of the hottest coaches last year. He decided to stay in Detroit. He is the top coaching candidate right now, him and maybe Jim Harbaugh after that national championship win for Michigan. Boo, but they deserve it. Whatever. Listen, Ben Johnson has run one of the best offenses in the NFL for multiple years. He has made Jared Goff look like God at quarterback. Goff has averaged 4,478 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions per 17 games since Johnson was hired, according to Sporting News. I mean, there is not a better offensive coach available than Ben Johnson. Period. So Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson are my 1 and my 2. Other guys who make a lot of sense, Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy from Washington. Now, I don't have Bieniemy as high on my list as I have Johnson and Slowick because Bieniemy does have a history of rubbing people the wrong way. It's something that they've talked about in Washington. It's something that prevented him from getting head coaching jobs so far. The reason that everybody has talked about Eric Bieniemy for the last 5 years, but he never gets a head coaching opportunity, is because he is a difficult person to work with. He is harsh. He is brash. He is very aggressive. And look, that may be something that sounds perfect to you. I get it. But again, when that guy is your head coach and you don't have anybody above him to balance out that aggressiveness and that harshness, it can become a problem in the locker room. So I like Eric Bieniemy, one of the most brilliant offensive coaches in the NFL, but that history is just something that you have to acknowledge. Okay, so that's why he's number 3 on my list. Number 4, Todd Monken from the Baltimore Ravens, their offensive coordinator. Monken has shown at every single level, when he was in the NFL, when he was at Georgia with the Ravens this year, he is excellent at tailoring his system to the strengths of his players, something that Mike Vrabel refused to do. Mike Vrabel continued the run-focused, play action, but Mike Vrabel wouldn't change the system. It did not matter. He was not doing it. So I want a coach that tailors their system to the strengths of his players. And that is something that Todd Monken would do. So right now, those are my top 4 candidates for the Titans. You want to talk about guys that I don't want to hire? Here are some guys that I do not want to hire right now. Number 1, any defensive coach. Literally, any defensive coach. I explained it in the first segment. If you hire a defensive football coach and he has a good offensive coordinator, that offensive coordinator will get hired as a head coach in no time. The Titans have had one good offensive coordinator in the last 15 years, and it was Arthur Smith, and it took 2 years, and he got hired as a head coach. It creates a void of consistency. It creates a void of continuity because if you have a defensive coach, if the offensive coordinator is any good, they will leave. So the only way to create consistency on the offensive side of the ball and create continuity on the offensive side of the ball is to have an offensive head coach. And again, five out of the last 6 Super Bowl winners, offensive head coaches. So you can ignore the data. You can ignore the trends all you want. That's fine. So any defensive coach, I am out because it's just going to give the Titans the same exact problems that they have right now. Okay? So other than any defensive coach, I do not want Arthur Smith back. Arthur Smith is not a head coach. Arthur Smith is an offensive coordinator. He needs a head coach over top of him. So when he's trying to play Tyler Algier over Bijan Robinson, or when he's trying to play Jonnu Smith over Kyle Pitts, someone can slap him and say, hey, wake up, play your best players. So Arthur Smith is not a head coach. So any defensive coach, Arthur Smith, no, I'm out on those guys. Along with that, I do not want any retread coaches. If you've been a head coach in the NFL before, I do not want you. And that includes Jim Harbaugh. I do not want Jim Harbaugh. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you guys like Jim Harbaugh. I do not want Jim Harbaugh. He's a larger-than-life caricature. He thinks everything is about him. He may be a winner, but I am out on that. Not a chance. So it's pretty clear for me. I want Bobby Slowick, number 1. I want Ben Johnson, number 2. I want Todd Monken, number 3. Eric Bieniemy would be my number 4. And as for the guys I don't want, I do not want Arthur Smith. I do not want a defensive coach. I do not want a retread hire. And I do not want Jim Harbaugh. So that's where I'm at right now. Again, let me know down below, who do you want to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans? All right. I just want to say this one last thing. I just want to recap this one last time because we have nearly 1,000 people in the live right now. So I just want to go back. This was the right move for the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel, 2 back-to-back double-digit losing seasons. 1-9 in the last 10 games against the division. Terrible coaching hires across the board. Back-to-back years of a hostile power play within the organization. An old school approach. Again, 3 out of Vrabel's 6 years, this team's offense has been 27th or lower. Half of Mike Vrabel's years, they have had one of the worst 5 offenses in the NFL. That is a trend. That is a pattern. You can't just blame the roster and blame the GM. That is Mike Vrabel. Also, Mike Vrabel stole play calling duties from Dean Pease at halftime of the Kansas City Chiefs AFC Championship game. This dude is an egomaniac, and he has tried to hijack the organization 2 years in a row despite double-digit losing seasons. He is not Bill Belichick. He is not John Harbaugh. He is not Mike Tomlin. He is not God. So, with that being said, Slowick, Johnson, Malkin, Bieniemy, don't want defense, don't want art, don't want retreads. Man, what a crazy day. Rand Carthon is going to speak at 4 p.m. Eastern time. If he says something crazy, I'll be back with you guys live again later tonight. If not, of course, I will see you tomorrow because it's Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free here at the Locked On Titans podcast. So make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, coaching hire, free agency, draft. We got so much to talk about. Stay with me, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this is Locked On Titans.